You think I married you for love? You were just a womb I needed. The crystal wine glass shattered against the marble floor as Obioma froze, her hand instinctively moving to her 7-month pregnant belly. Her husband, Nnamdi Okafor, billionaire oil magnate, philanthropist, the man whose face smiled from every Lagos billboard, stood at the head of their dining table, his eyes cold as steel. Hello guys. Welcome to Stories by Stoner. Thank you so much for your incredible support. You all keep this channel alive. Before we dive into today's explosive story, drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Now, let's get into this. The dinner had started normally enough. Their mansion in Ikoyi overlooked the Lagos Lagoon, the kind of home featured in Architectural Digest. Nnamdi's mother, Mama Ego, sat beside him, her lips curled in that familiar sneer she reserved especially for Obioma. His sister, Ugochi, picked at her jollof rice with barely concealed disgust. Nnamdi, please, Obioma whispered, her voice trembling. Not in front of your family. Family. He laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. You mean the people who warned me not to marry some poor village girl from Enugu? They were right. Mama Ego dabbed her mouth with a linen napkin. My son is finally seeing clearly. 3 years wasted on you, and what have you given us? No male heir. Just this. She waved dismissively at Obioma's belly. This thing you carry. Probably another useless girl. Obioma's eyes filled with tears. The ultrasound showed. I don't care what it showed. Nnamdi slammed his fist on the table, making the china rattle. I want you gone. Pack your things tonight. My lawyers will contact you about the divorce. Divorce. Obioma's voice broke. But I'm pregnant with your child. Ugochi laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. Oh, you sweet, stupid woman. Did you really think my brother would stay faithful to someone like you? While you've been waddling around like a beached whale, he's been. Ugochi, enough. Nnamdi cut her off, but his eyes held no remorse. Obioma stood, her chair scraping against the floor. I have been nothing but a good wife to you. I left my job, my friends, my dignity, all for you. And I gave you luxury. Nnamdi roared. Designer clothes, jewelry, this palace. You should be grateful I even looked at you twice. A nobody from nowhere. And I made you Mrs. Okafor. The pain in Obioma's chest rivaled the pain in her swollen feet. She'd walked into this marriage 3 years ago believing in fairy tales. Nnamdi had courted her relentlessly when she was a struggling accountant at a small firm. Flowers every day, lavish dates, promises whispered under Lagos stars. She'd believed every word. There's someone else, isn't there? The words escaped before she could stop them. The silence that followed was deafening. Mama Ego's eyes gleamed with malicious satisfaction. Of course there is. A proper woman. Educated in London, from a good family. Someone worthy of the Okafor name. Obioma felt the room spin. How long? Does it matter? Nnamdi's voice was ice. You're being difficult about this. Take the settlement I'm offering, 2 million naira, and disappear. Or I'll make sure you leave with nothing. 2 million. Obioma gasped. Your watch costs more than that. Exactly. Ugochi smirked. Know your worth. Obioma looked around the dining room, the imported Italian furniture, the African art worth millions, the life she'd helped him build while he climbed higher in Lagos society. She'd hosted his business dinners, smiled through his mother's insults, given up everything. And he was throwing her away like garbage. I won't make this easy for you, she heard herself say, voice steady despite her shaking hands. Nnamdi's laugh was cruel. You think you can fight me? I own judges, Obioma. I own lawyers. I own this entire city. You're nothing. As Obioma turned to leave, clutching her belly, she heard Mama Ego say, finally, we can have that girl Yemisi properly in this house. Such a beauty, and from the Adeyemi family too. Obioma's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. But somewhere deep inside, beneath the pain and humiliation, something else stirred. Rage. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What would you do if your spouse humiliated you like this? Comment below. Obioma's hands trembled as she climbed the marble staircase to their bedroom. No, his bedroom. Everything in this house belonged to Nnamdi. Even the clothes on her back, he'd reminded her countless times, were bought with his money. She pushed open the heavy mahogany door and stopped dead. A woman sat on her bed. Their bed. She was stunning, the kind of beauty that graced magazine covers. Her skin glowed like polished bronze, her hair cascaded in perfect waves down her back, and she wore a white lace dress that probably cost more than Obioma's entire wardrobe. Diamonds glittered at her throat and wrists. "You must be the wife," the woman said, her voice smooth as honey. She didn't bother standing. "I'm Yemisi Adeyemi, soon to be Nnamdi Okafor." Obioma felt her knees buckle. You're in my bedroom. Your bedroom." Yemisi laughed, examining her manicured nails. "Sweetheart, nothing here is yours. Nnamdi made that very clear to me. You were just keeping the bed warm until I was ready." "How long?" Obioma whispered, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. 2 years. Yemisi's smile was razor-sharp. "Since before you got pregnant, actually. That night you told him about the baby? He came straight to my penthouse in Victoria Island and cried on my shoulder. Said you'd trapped him." The room spun. 2 years. Her entire pregnancy, all those doctor's appointments where he'd claimed to be too busy, all those nights he'd come home late smelling of expensive perfume, it had all been Yemisi. "He loves me," Yemisi continued, standing now, circling Obioma like a predator. "We're equals. I run my own luxury fashion empire. I have 3 degrees from Oxford. I speak 5 languages. We move in the same circles, understand the same world." She paused, looking Obioma up and down with undisguised disgust. You were a charity case who got lucky." Obioma's baby kicked hard, as if sensing her mother's distress. She placed a protective hand over her belly. "I'm carrying his child." "Are you?" Yemisi's eyebrow arched. "Because Nnamdi has some interesting theories about that. He says you two barely. Well, let's just say he questions the timing." "That's a lie." Obioma's voice cracked. "This baby is his. Then you'll have no problem with a paternity test after birth, will you?" Yemisi smiled sweetly. "Of course, if it's not his, you'll leave with nothing. And if it is?" She shrugged. "He'll pay child support." "Barely. You'll still be out of this house, out of his life, and I'll be the one wearing the Okafor name." Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Nnamdi appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. He looked between the 2 women and had the audacity to smile. "Yemisi, darling, I thought we agreed you'd wait in the guest house." I got impatient. Yemisi glided to his side, her hand possessively on his chest. "Besides, I wanted to meet the woman who's been such an obstacle." Obioma watched them together, how naturally Yemisi fit against him, how his hand automatically went to her waist. They looked like they belonged in the society pages. Beautiful, powerful, matched. And she looked like exactly what Mama Ego called her, a village girl who'd gotten lucky. "Nnamdi," Obioma forced the words out. "I need money. For a hotel tonight. I can't stay here with her." "The guest quarters are available," he said dismissively. "You're not getting a kobo until the lawyers finalize everything." "I'm 7 months pregnant. Not my problem." He turned to Yemisi. "Shall we?" "I made reservations at SIP." They swept past Obioma like she was invisible. She heard Yemisi's laughter echoing down the hallway, heard the front door close, heard the roar of Nnamdi's Lamborghini as it sped away. Obioma sank onto the bed where she'd slept beside her husband for 3 years, where she'd conceived this baby, where she dreamed of their future together. She should cry. She should scream. She should crumble. Instead, she pulled out her phone with steady hands. Her best friend Ebel answered on the first ring. Obi. It's almost midnight. What? I need you to come get me, Obioma said quietly. And I need the number of that lawyer friend of yours. The one who handles high-profile divorces. What happened? Everything, Obioma whispered. But I'm done being the victim in this story. Nnamdi thinks he owns this city? Let him think that. While he's busy celebrating, I'm going to find out exactly what the billionaire Nnamdi Okafor doesn't want anyone to know. Obi, what are you planning? Obioma looked around the bedroom one last time, at the luxury that had been her prison, at the life that had been a lie. War, she said simply. I'm planning war. What would you do in Obioma's position? Fight back or walk away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're loving this story, smash that like button and share with someone who needs to hear this. The law office of Folake Daniels sat in the heart of Lagos Island, nestled between gleaming skyscrapers that housed Nigeria's most powerful corporations. Obioma had taken a taxi there at dawn, her overnight bag clutched in one hand, her dignity wrapped around her like armor. Ebel sat beside her in the waiting room, squeezing her hand. Folake is the best. She took down Senator Olyamide in his divorce last year. Took him for everything. But Nnamdi said he owns the judges. Nnamdi is arrogant, a voice interrupted. They looked up. The woman who entered was small but fierce, her natural hair cropped close, her navy suit perfectly tailored. She couldn't have been more than 40, but her eyes held the sharpness of someone who'd seen every trick in the book. I'm Folake Daniels. And your husband doesn't own me. She gestured them into her office. Tell me everything. For the next hour, Obioma poured out her story. The whirlwind courtship, the controlling behavior that started slowly. First her job, then her friends, then her bank accounts. How Nnamdi insisted she sign a prenuptial agreement the day before their wedding when it was too late to back out. How his family treated her like a servant in her own home. Folake took notes on her tablet, her expression unreadable. The prenup, she finally said. Do you have a copy? He kept it. Said it was in his safe. Of course he did. Folake leaned back. Let me guess. You get nothing if you divorce him. Maybe a small settlement if you're lucky. 2 million naira. Folake's laugh was bitter. The man spends that on a weekend in Dubai. Classic. And the house, cars, everything is in his name. Obioma nodded miserably. I was stupid. I trusted him. You weren't stupid. You were in love. Folake's voice softened slightly. But love doesn't pay lawyers or feed babies. Now, tell me, during your marriage, did you ever help with his business? Entertain clients? Use your accounting background to review anything? Obioma thought back. Yes. I used to review his quarterly reports, catch errors his accountants missed. I organized all his business dinners. Those deals were finalized at our home. I even helped him negotiate the Rivers State contract last year. My father's brother is the commissioner there. I made the introduction. Folake's eyes gleamed. That Rivers State contract is worth what? 2 billion naira? 3 billion over 5 years. And you facilitated it? I suppose I did, but nothing. Folake leaned forward. In Nigeria, we're still fighting for equitable distribution, but I can argue spousal contribution. You weren't just a housewife, Obioma. You were an unpaid business partner. And if we can prove your direct contribution to his wealth accumulation during the marriage. She smiled. That prenup might not be worth the paper it's printed on. Hope flickered in Obioma's chest. Really? But I need ammunition. I need proof of your contributions. Emails, messages, anything showing you worked on his behalf. Photos from those business dinners. Guest lists. Documentation of your role. I have some emails on my old laptop. It's still at the house. Good. We'll need to get it. But first, Folake pulled out a folder. I did some digging after Ebel called me last night. Your husband is interesting. Very interesting. She spread photographs across the desk. Nnamdi and Yemisi at various restaurants, hotels, events. But there were others too. Nnamdi with different women, entering hotels, leaving luxury apartments. Yemisi isn't his only affair, Folake said quietly. She's just the one he wants to marry. There's also Zainab, a Lebanese model in Abuja. And this one, she tapped a photo. Mercy, a graduate student at University of Lagos. He pays her rent. Obioma felt sick. Not just one affair. Multiple. While she'd been home, pregnant and alone, he'd been living an entirely separate life. There's more, Folake continued. Nnamdi's business empire? It's not as solid as it looks. He's leveraged to the hilt. Borrowed heavily to maintain appearances. That mansion you're living in? Mortgaged 3 times over. The cars? Leased. The man is drowning in debt, but he's built this image of untouchable wealth. How did you find all this? I have sources. Private investigators who specialize in men like your husband. Rich, arrogant men who think they're bulletproof. Folake's smile was sharp. They're always the easiest to take down. They get sloppy. Obioma stared at the photos, her mind racing. If he's in debt, why does he want to divorce me? Why not just keep things as they are? Because Yemisi's family has real money. Old money. Her father owns half of Victoria Island. If Nnamdi marries her, he gets access to that wealth, those connections. You're not just being replaced, Obioma. You're being traded up. The words stung, but they also clarified everything. She'd never been a wife. She'd been a transaction. And now she was an expired asset. What do I do? Obioma whispered. Folake gathered the photos. First, we file for divorce before he does. We control the narrative. Second, we demand a full financial disclosure, every account, every asset, every debt. Third, we prove your contribution to his empire and demand compensation. And fourth, she met Obioma's eyes, we make sure all of Lagos knows exactly who Nnamdi Okafor really is. But he has power. Connections. So do I. And unlike him, I actually earned mine. Folake stood. I won't lie to you, this will be ugly. He'll try to destroy you. His family will make your life hell. The society pages will tear you apart. But if you're willing to fight, I promise you'll walk away with more than 2 million naira and your dignity intact. Obioma placed her hand on her belly, feeling her daughter kick. She thought about the future she wanted for this child. Not one where women were traded like commodities. Not one where men like Nnamdi won simply because they could. I'm willing to fight, she said firmly. Tell me what to do. Folake smiled, a warrior's smile. Then let's go to war. Have you ever had to fight for what's rightfully yours? Tell us your story in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This journey is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what happens next. 3 days later, Obioma stood outside the Ikoyi mansion with Folake and 2 court bailiffs. In her hand, she clutched a court order granting her temporary access to retrieve her personal belongings, and the laptop that would help build her case. The gates swung open. Mama Ego stood in the doorway, her face twisted in rage. You have some nerve showing your face here. I have a court order, Folake said coolly, holding up the document. Mrs. Okafor has the right to collect her belongings. You can cooperate, or I can have these officers arrest you for obstruction. Mama Ego's eyes blazed, but she stepped aside. Nnamdi will hear about this. I'm counting on it, Folake replied. Inside, the house felt different. Foreign. Obioma noticed immediately. The family photos were gone. Every picture of her and Nnamdi had vanished from the walls, the side tables, the mantel. It was as if she'd never existed. In their place hung photos of Yemisi. Yemisi and Nnamdi at a gala. Yemisi laughing in the garden. Yemisi wearing the diamond necklace Nnamdi had given Obioma on their first anniversary. "She's already moved in," Obioma whispered. "Good," Folake murmured. "Document everything. Take photos." Obioma pulled out her phone and began snapping pictures. Evidence of how quickly she'd been erased. How eager they were to rewrite history. She climbed the stairs to the bedroom. Her clothes had been removed from the closet, thrown into black garbage bags piled in the corner. Designer dresses she'd worn to charity galas, traditional attire from her village, the maternity clothes she'd carefully selected, all treated like trash. But Yemisi's clothes hung pristine in the closet. Her perfume bottles lined the vanity. Her silk robe draped across the chair. Obioma's hands shook as she photographed it all. The laptop was in the study, Nnamdi's private sanctuary where she'd rarely been allowed. She found it in the desk drawer, exactly where she'd left it months ago. As she reached for it, she noticed something else. A folder. Unmarked, stuffed with papers. "Folake," she called softly. The lawyer appeared instantly. Obioma handed her the folder. Folake flipped through it, her eyes widening. Bank statements. Offshore accounts. Transfer receipts to... "Oh, this is beautiful." She looked up at Obioma. "Your husband has been moving money out of the country. Millions. To accounts in Dubai, London, the Cayman Islands. Is that illegal?" "Depends on whether he declared it. But it certainly contradicts his claim that everything is tied up in business assets." Folake pulled out her phone and began photographing every page. "This changes everything." "What are you doing in here?" They spun. Ugochi stood in the doorway, her phone pointed at them like a weapon. "I'm live on Instagram right now," she said smugly. "Everyone can see you trespassing, going through my brother's private papers. This is theft." "This is legal discovery," Folake countered, holding up the court order again. "And unless you want to be named as an accessory to hiding assets in a divorce proceeding, I suggest you stop recording." Ugochi's smile faltered. "What assets? Nnamdi doesn't have to hide anything. He's the victim here." "Is he?" Folake stepped closer. "Because these documents show he's been systematically moving marital assets offshore to avoid equitable distribution. That's fraud, Ms. Okafor. And if you've been helping him..." "I haven't." Ugochi lowered the phone quickly. "I don't know anything about his business." "Then I suggest you leave us alone." Ugochi fled. They could hear her shouting for Mama Ego downstairs. "We need to move fast," Folake said, still photographing. "Grab your laptop and anything else you need. Once they realize what we've found." A car door slammed outside. Voices rose. Nnamdi's voice, loud and furious. He burst into the study like a storm, Yemisi and 2 security guards behind him. His face was purple with rage. "Get out of my house." "Your house." Folake didn't flinch. "This is marital property, Mr. Okafor. And according to Nigerian law." "I don't care about the law. You're trespassing. We have a court order." Folake's voice was ice. "Signed by Justice Nwankwo this morning. Your own lawyer received a copy. If you weren't too busy moving money to offshore accounts to check your email, you'd know that." The room went silent. Nnamdi's eyes flickered to the folder in Folake's hands, and Obioma saw something she'd never seen before in her husband's face. Fear. "Those are confidential business documents," he said, his voice strained. "You have no right." "I have every right." Discovery phase of divorce proceedings. "You should have read the papers more carefully before you served your wife." Folake smiled. "Oh wait, you didn't serve her. You just kicked her out and assumed she'd disappear quietly. Big mistake, Mr. Okafor." Yemisi stepped forward, Her beautiful face twisted with contempt. You're pathetic. Both of you. Digging through papers like rats. Nnamdi doesn't need this money. Then he won't mind sharing it, Folake interrupted. Mrs. Okafor contributed significantly to building this empire. She deserves her fair share. She contributed nothing. Mama Ego shrieked from the doorway. She's a lazy, worthless. Careful, Folake warned. Defamation is also actionable. Nnamdi's jaw clenched. Name your price. Whatever it takes to make this go away quietly. You had your chance to do this quietly, Obioma spoke for the first time, her voice steady. You offered me 2 million naira and told me to disappear. You humiliated me in front of your family. You moved your mistress into our home before I'd even left. You wanted me gone? Fine. But you're going to pay for it. You can't touch me, Nnamdi snarled. I have the best lawyers in Nigeria. Had, Folake corrected. Because I just sent copies of these documents to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Tax evasion, money laundering, failure to declare foreign accounts. They're going to be very interested in you, Mr. Okafor. The color drained from Nnamdi's face. You wouldn't dare. I already did. 20 minutes ago. Folake gathered the papers. See you in court. Oh, and one more thing. I'm calling a press conference tomorrow. I think the people of Lagos deserve to know the truth about their beloved philanthropist. She walked past Nnamdi, Obioma following close behind. The bailiffs flanked them protectively. This isn't over. Nnamdi roared behind them. You're absolutely right, Obioma said quietly, turning at the door. It's just beginning. As they drove away, Obioma watched the mansion disappear in the rearview mirror. The house that had been her prison. The life that had been a lie. She'd walked in afraid. She walked out armed. Would you have confronted your ex like this? Or kept quiet? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This war is heating up and you need to see what Obioma does next. The Lagos Media Center was packed. Journalists from every major Nigerian outlet crowded the room. Channels TV, Arise News, The Guardian, Punch, even international correspondents from BBC Africa and CNN. Camera flashes popped like lightning as Obioma walked to the podium, Folake by her side. She was 8 months pregnant now, her belly prominent beneath a simple blue dress. She'd chosen it carefully, not the designer labels Nnamdi had bought her, but something modest from a local market. She wanted to look like herself, not the trophy wife he'd created. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the microphone. Good morning. My name is Obioma Okafor, and I'm here to tell you the truth about my husband, billionaire Nnamdi Okafor. The room erupted. Questions flew from every direction. Folake raised her hand for silence. Mrs. Okafor will make her statement, then we'll take questions. Please hold your comments until then. Obioma took a deep breath. She thought of every woman who'd been silenced, every wife who'd walked away with nothing because she was too afraid to fight. She thought of her daughter, growing inside her, who deserved to see her mother stand up. 3 years ago, Nnamdi Okafor swept me off my feet. He promised me love, partnership, a future. What he gave me was control, manipulation, and betrayal. For 3 years, I endured emotional abuse from him and his family. I was isolated from my friends, forced to quit my job, denied access to money, and treated like property. The cameras clicked frantically. She continued. 2 weeks ago, while 7 months pregnant with his child, I was told to leave our home. My husband informed me he wanted a divorce so he could marry his mistress, Yemisi Adeyemi, who has been his companion for 2 years, including throughout my entire pregnancy. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Obioma saw several journalists frantically typing on their phones. This would be trending within minutes. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here because my husband isn't who Lagos thinks he is. The charitable philanthropist, the successful businessman, it's all a carefully constructed lie. Folake stepped forward, holding up documents. We have evidence that Mr. Okafor has been systematically moving marital assets to offshore accounts in violation of Nigerian tax law. We have documented proof of multiple extramarital affairs. And we have testimony showing that Mrs. Okafor contributed significantly to her husband's business success, including facilitating a 3 billion naira government contract, yet she was offered a settlement of only 2 million naira in the divorce. The room exploded. Questions came rapid fire. Mrs. Okafor, are you saying your husband committed tax fraud? How many mistresses did he have? What about the prenuptial agreement? Is the baby really his? That last question hit like a slap. Obioma gripped the podium. My daughter, yes, it's a girl, the useless gender according to my mother-in-law, is absolutely Nnamdi's child. But he has publicly questioned her paternity to justify his cruelty. I am prepared to submit to any paternity test. But I will not let him use my child as a weapon to silence me. Her voice cracked with emotion. The room fell quiet. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because I'm tired of powerful men destroying women and walking away unscathed. I'm here because every day, women across Nigeria are told to be quiet, to accept whatever crumbs their husbands offer, to disappear gracefully when they're no longer wanted. I'm here to say, no more. The applause started slowly, then built. Several female journalists stood, clapping. Obioma felt tears streaming down her face, but she didn't wipe them away. Folake fielded questions for the next 30 minutes, providing carefully redacted documents to support their claims while protecting information for the upcoming court case. The journalists were relentless, but Folake was better. Finally, they called it. As Obioma stood to leave, a young reporter pushed forward. Mrs. Okafor, what do you say to people who call you a gold digger? Who say you're just after his money? Obioma paused. She thought about the girl she'd been 3 years ago, hopeful, educated, with her own career and dreams. The woman Nnamdi had systematically dismantled. I say this, I don't want his money. I want what I earned. I want what the law says I deserve as a wife who contributed to building an empire. And I want other women to know that wanting to be treated fairly doesn't make you greedy. It makes you human. She walked out of the media center into the blinding Lagos sun. Her phone was already exploding with notifications. The story was everywhere, trending on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. #JusticeForObioma was already viral. But the first message she saw was from an unknown number. You just signed your death warrant. You think you can destroy me? Watch what I do to you. Her blood ran cold. She showed it to Folake. Save it. Forward it to me. This is evidence. Folake's face was grim. I'm assigning security to you. Nnamdi is cornered now, and cornered men are dangerous. As if on cue, Obioma's phone rang. It was her mother in Enugu, sobbing. Obi, they came to the house. Nnamdi's people. They're offering money to anyone who will speak against you. They're telling everyone you were a prostitute, that you trapped him, that the baby isn't his. Mama, breathe. It's okay. We expected this. But they're threatening us. They said if Papa doesn't denounce you publicly, they'll destroy his business. Obioma's father ran a small transport company in Enugu. It was modest but honest work that fed their family. The thought of Nnamdi targeting him made her blood boil. Tell Papa not to worry. Folake will handle it. But when she hung up, her hands were shaking. Folake was right. Nnamdi was dangerous. And she'd just declared war on him in front of the entire nation. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was Ebel. Turn on Channels TV. Now. Obioma found a television in the lobby. The news anchor's face was grave. Breaking news. Billionaire Nnamdi Okafor has released a statement through his legal team in response to today's explosive press conference. In it, he denies all allegations of financial impropriety and claims his estranged wife, Obioma Okafor, is suffering from severe postpartum psychosis and is not mentally fit to care for their unborn child. He is seeking emergency custody and demanding she undergo psychiatric evaluation. Obioma felt the room tilt. Her baby kicked hard, sensing her distress. "He's trying to take my baby," she whispered. "Before she's even born, he's trying to take her away." Folake was already on the phone, her voice sharp and commanding. But Obioma barely heard her. All she could think was, how far would Nnamdi go? How much power did he really have? And most terrifying of all, had she just made the biggest mistake of her life? This is getting intense. What would you do if someone tried to take your child? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. The psychiatric evaluation was scheduled for the next morning at a private hospital in Victoria Island. Obioma barely slept, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. What if they declared her unfit? What if Nnamdi really could take her baby? Folake arrived at dawn with news. "I've arranged for Dr. Nneka Okonkwo to conduct the evaluation. She's independent, highly respected, and she doesn't take bribes." "But Obi," she hesitated. "Nnamdi's team is pushing for immediate custody pending the evaluation results. They're claiming you're a danger to yourself and the baby." "That's insane. I'm perfectly fine." "I know. But we need to be smart." Folake pulled out her tablet. "While you were sleeping, my investigator found something. Something big." She turned the screen toward Obioma. It showed bank transfers, dozens of them, all from Nnamdi's accounts to a single recipient, a woman named Ngozi Okoro. Who is she? His first wife. Obioma's mouth fell open. His what? Nnamdi was married before. 12 years ago, in Port Harcourt. To Ngozi Okoro, the daughter of a local chief. The marriage lasted 2 years before she disappeared. No divorce records, no death certificate, nothing. It's like she vanished. But that means your marriage might not be legal, Folake finished. If he never divorced her, he committed bigamy when he married you. And these transfers? They've been going to her every month for the past decade. Substantial amounts, sometimes as much as 5 million naira. Obioma's mind reeled. Why would he pay her unless he's hiding something about why she left? Or why she stayed silent? Folake's eyes gleamed. My investigator tracked her down. She's in Abuja now, living under a different name. And Obi. She wants to talk. When? Today. After your evaluation. But there's something else. Folake pulled up another document. Remember that Rivers State contract you helped facilitate? The 3 billion naira deal. Yes. It was awarded fraudulently. Nnamdi bribed officials, inflated costs, and skimmed money off the top. We're talking about theft of public funds. And your uncle, the commissioner who helped push it through? He's been receiving monthly payments too. Obioma felt sick. My uncle is involved? Deeply. Which means if this comes out, your entire family could be implicated. Nnamdi has been very careful to create a trail that leads back to you and your connections. He set me up, Obioma whispered. From the beginning, he used me to facilitate corruption, and now if I expose him. Your family goes down too. Yes. Folake's face was grim. This is why he's so confident. He thinks you won't risk destroying your own family to save yourself. The baby kicked, hard and insistent. Obioma placed her hand on her belly, feeling her daughter's movements. Everything she'd thought she knew about her marriage was a lie. Everything. What do I do? We have 2 choices. Walk away, take whatever settlement he offers and disappear. Your family stays safe, Nnamdi keeps his empire, and you raise your daughter knowing you let him win. Or we go nuclear. We find Ngozi, get her story, expose everything, the bigamy, the corruption, all of it. But Obi, if we do this, we're taking down everyone connected to that Rivers State deal. Including your uncle. Your family will never forgive you. Obioma closed her eyes. She thought of her father, his small honest business. Her mother, who'd always been so proud of her daughter's marriage to a wealthy man. Her uncle, who'd bragged to everyone about his connection to the great Nnamdi Okafor. They would all hate her. But then she thought of her daughter. The little girl who would grow up learning what her mother chose in this moment. Would she learn that women stay silent to protect men? Or would she learn that truth matters more than comfort? Set up the meeting with Ngozi, Obioma said firmly. I want to hear everything. The psychiatric evaluation took 3 hours. Dr. Okonkwo was thorough, compassionate, and professional. When it ended, she smiled at Obioma. You're one of the sanest people I've evaluated in years. I'll have my report ready by tomorrow, and I'll state clearly that you show no signs of psychosis, depression, or any condition that would impair your ability to parent. Your husband's claims are baseless. Thank you, Obioma breathed. But be careful, Dr. Okonkwo added quietly. I've seen men like him before. When they can't control you through law, they try other methods. The warning sent chills down Obioma's spine. That afternoon, they met Ngozi at a small restaurant in Abuja. Folake had arranged for them to fly up immediately after the evaluation. Time was critical. Nnamdi's lawyers would be filing more motions, creating more obstacles. Ngozi was 40 now, but she looked older. Her eyes held a haunted quality that spoke of years of fear. She clutched a folder to her chest like a lifeline. Thank you for meeting with us, Obioma said gently. I've been waiting for this moment for 12 years, Ngozi replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to him. Tell us what happened, Folake urged. Ngozi took a shaky breath. I was 23 when I married Nnamdi. He was different then, ambitious, charming, but not yet rich. My father's money helped him start his first business. Everything he has now, it started with my family's investment. She opened the folder, spreading papers across the table. Investment documents, partnership agreements, all bearing her father's signature and Nnamdi's. 6 months into our marriage, I found out I was pregnant. Nnamdi was ecstatic. He wanted a son to build his empire with. But something went wrong. At 7 months, I lost the baby. A little boy. Obioma reached across the table, squeezing her hand. She understood that pain intimately, the fear that gripped you when your pregnancy wasn't perfect, the terror that something might go wrong. Nnamdi blamed me, Ngozi continued, tears streaming down her face. He said I was careless, that I'd killed his son. His mother moved into our house and made my life hell. Every day, they reminded me I was worthless, that I'd failed my only purpose. I tried to get pregnant again, but it didn't happen right away. Nnamdi became violent. Her voice broke, he beat me. Regularly. Said he had to knock sense into me. His mother watched and did nothing. Folake's jaw tightened. Obioma felt rage building in her chest. One night, after a particularly bad beating, I ran. I had nothing, no money, no documents, nothing. But my cousin hid me, helped me get to Abuja, helped me start over with a new name. I was too scared to go to the police. Nnamdi had connections even then. I knew he'd find me and kill me. The money he sends you, Obioma started. Hush money. 6 months after I left, his lawyer found me. Said Nnamdi would pay me to stay silent about the abuse, about my family's investment that he'd stolen. He promised if I never came back, never talked, never filed for divorce, he'd take care of me. So I took the money. I was scared and broke and traumatized. I took it. She pulled out more papers, hospital records from the beating, photographs of her injuries, medical reports documenting broken ribs, a fractured jaw, internal bleeding. I kept everything. Every piece of evidence. Because I knew someday, he'd do this to someone else. And I wanted to be ready to help her. Obioma stared at the photos, at the woman Ngozi had been, young, beautiful, broken. She saw herself in those pictures. She saw the future Nnamdi had planned for her. Will you testify? Folake asked gently. Yes, Ngozi said without hesitation. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of letting him hurt people. If we're taking him down, I'm in. Folake gathered the documents carefully. This changes everything. With your testimony and these records, we can prove a pattern of abuse. We can invalidate Obioma's marriage on grounds of bigamy. We can expose him for what he really is. But my family, Obioma whispered. My uncle, the corruption. Is your uncle worth protecting? Ngozi asked sharply. If he took bribes, if he helped Nnamdi steal public funds meant for Rivers State citizens, does he deserve protection? Obioma thought of the people in Rivers State who'd suffered because contracts were inflated, because money was stolen, because men like Nnamdi and her uncle put profit over people. No, she said finally. He doesn't. Then we fight, Folake declared. Not just for you, Obioma. For Ngozi. For every woman Nnamdi has destroyed. For every person his corruption has hurt. We burn his empire to the ground. Obioma's phone buzzed. A message from Ebel. Nnamdi just posted on Instagram. You need to see this. She opened the app with trembling hands. There, in a beautifully staged photo, was Nnamdi and Yemisi, her hand displaying a massive engagement ring. The caption read, "Sometimes God removes the wrong people from your life to make room for the right ones. Grateful for second chances and true love. #blessed, #new beginnings, #moving forward." The comments were filled with congratulations, with people praising him for finding happiness and not letting negativity bring him down. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. Obioma looked up at Folake and Ngozi, at these two women who'd chosen to fight alongside her. Let's destroy him, she said quietly. Let's show Lagos exactly who Nnamdi Okafor really is. Can you believe this man's nerve? What would you do if your ex flaunted his new relationship like this? Comment below. This story is about to reach its explosive climax. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share with everyone you know. You won't want to miss what happens when Obioma unleashes everything she has. Obioma stood in Folake's office, staring at the wall of evidence they'd assembled. Photographs, bank statements, hospital records, testimonies, everything that would destroy Nnamdi Okafor was pinned up like a war map. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Second thoughts. Folake asked gently, handing her a glass of water. I'm terrified, Obioma admitted. My mother called again this morning. She was crying, begging me to stop. My father's transport company lost 3 major contracts overnight, all of them connected to Nnamdi's network. My uncle isn't returning my calls. My cousins are posting on Facebook calling me a traitor to the family. She sank into a chair, exhausted. At 8.5 months pregnant, every movement was difficult. But the emotional weight was even heavier. My mother said I'm destroying the family for pride. That I should think about my brothers and sisters, their futures. She said no man will ever marry my younger sisters now because I've brought shame on our name. Folake sat beside her. And what do you say to that? I say she's probably right. Obioma's voice cracked. I'm ruining everything. My family, my reputation, my daughter's future. What kind of life will she have with a mother everyone calls a troublemaker? A homewrecker? A gold digger? The kind of life where she knows her mother stood up for what was right. But at what cost? Obioma gestured at her phone, which hadn't stopped buzzing with hateful messages. Look at this. You're a witch trying to destroy a good man. Jealous, bitter woman. You should be ashamed. These are from other women, Folake. Women who should understand. They're scared, Folake said quietly. They see you fighting back, and it reminds them of their own silence. You're holding up a mirror, and they don't like what they see. Obioma scrolled through more messages. Death threats mixed with biblical verses about submissive wives. Photos of Yemisi with captions like, "This is what a real woman looks like." Comments speculating that Obioma had used juju, witchcraft, to trap Nnamdi in the first place. Maybe I should just take the money and disappear, she whispered. 5 million. He increased the offer this morning. His lawyers say if I drop everything now, sign an NDA, I can walk away with 5 million naira and he won't fight for custody. And the corruption, the abuse, the other women he'll destroy. I know. Obioma buried her face in her hands. But I'm so tired, Folake. I barely sleep. My blood pressure is up. The doctor said stress could trigger early labor. What if fighting this hurts my baby? Her phone rang. It was Ebel. Obi, have you seen Twitter? They're trending #Nnamdi is innocent. Someone leaked medical records claiming you've had psychiatric treatment before. They're saying you're unstable, that everything you've said is lies from a delusional woman. Obioma's blood ran cold. What medical records? I've never had psychiatric treatment. They're fake, Folake said immediately, already typing on her laptop. I'm seeing it now. They're forged. We can prove it, but the damage is done, Obioma finished. People will believe what they want to believe. She stood, pacing despite her swollen ankles. He's going to win. He has money, power, an army of lawyers. He can create whatever narrative he wants. I'm just one pregnant woman with a lawyer and some documents. How do we fight an empire? With the truth, came a voice from the doorway. Ngozi entered, dressed simply but with fierce determination in her eyes. Behind her was another woman, younger, maybe 25, with the nervous energy of someone about to jump off a cliff. This is Mercy, Ngozi said. The university student Nnamdi's been paying rent for. Mercy stepped forward, clutching a folder. I want to testify. I want to tell my story. Obioma looked at this young woman, barely more than a girl, and saw fresh pain in her eyes. You don't have to do this, Obioma said gently. Nnamdi will come after you. He'll destroy your reputation, your education, everything. He already destroyed everything, Mercy replied, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. I was 19 when we met. He promised to pay for my education, help my family. I thought he loved me. I didn't know he was married. I didn't know about you, about Yemisi, about anyone else. She opened her folder. Inside were messages, explicit photos, bank transfers. When I found out the truth and tried to leave, he threatened me. Said he'd tell my parents I was a prostitute, that he'd make sure I was expelled from university. So I stayed quiet. But then I saw your press conference, saw you standing there pregnant and brave, and I realized, I'm tired of being his victim too. More footsteps in the hallway. A woman in her 50s entered, well-dressed and dignified. I'm Zainab Hossan, she said with a slight Lebanese accent. Nnamdi and I had an affair 3 years ago. I'm married. My husband is a prominent businessman in Abuja. When I tried to end things, Nnamdi threatened to tell my husband unless I continued seeing him. I've been trapped ever since. She pulled out her phone. I have recordings. Conversations where he talks about his various women, about how he manipulates them, about his financial schemes. I've been documenting everything because I knew someday I'd need protection. Folake's eyes widened. How many recordings? Dozens. Hours of material. Obioma stared at these women, all of them damaged by the same man, all of them finally ready to speak. She wasn't alone. She'd never been alone. There's something else, Ngozi said quietly. I found the real reason Nnamdi keeps paying me. It's not just about the abuse or the stolen investment. She pulled out a birth certificate. A child's birth certificate, dated 11 years ago. Mother, Ngozi Okoro. Father, Nnamdi Okafor. I didn't lose the baby, Ngozi whispered. I gave birth 3 months after I ran. A son. Nnamdi's son. The heir he's always wanted. I hid him, raised him as my nephew, changed his name. Nnamdi doesn't know he exists. The room fell silent. He has a son. Obioma breathed. He has a son he drove away through violence. A son he'll never know because I'll never let him near my child. And that's his real punishment. The legacy he's so desperate for already exists, and he destroyed his chance at it himself. Obioma felt something shift inside her. Not just the baby moving, but something deeper. A settling. A certainty. We go forward, she said firmly. All of us. Together. We tell our stories, all of them. We show Lagos who Nnamdi Okafor really is, not through accusations or allegations, but through a chorus of voices he can't silence. Your family will never forgive you, Folake warned. Then they weren't really my family, Obioma replied. My family is this baby girl, who deserves to grow up in a world where women don't have to choose between truth and survival. My family is these women, who trusted me enough to come forward. My family is every person who's been hurt by powerful men who thought they were untouchable. She looked at each woman in turn. Are you all sure? Because once we do this, there's no going back. They nodded, one by one. Then let's finish what we started, Obioma said. The court hearing is in 3 days. Let's make sure Nnamdi Okafor never hurts anyone again. The sisterhood is forming. Have you ever had women stand with you when you needed it most? Share your story in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share this video. We're heading into the final battle and you need to see how this ends. The night before the court hearing, Obioma couldn't sleep. She sat in Ebel's guest room, her hand on her belly, feeling her daughter's restless movements. Even the baby seemed to sense what was coming. Her phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Obioma. It was Nnamdi's voice, softer than she'd heard in months. Almost gentle. Please. Can we talk? We have nothing to say to each other. Just 5 minutes. I'm outside. Please. Against her better judgment, she looked out the window. His black Mercedes was parked across the street, engine running. Ebel was asleep. Folake had gone home for the night. She should hang up, call security, ignore him. But part of her, the part that had loved him once, needed to hear what he had to say. She went downstairs, opened the front gate slightly. Nnamdi stood there in the darkness, looking smaller somehow, older. Without his usual entourage and bravado, he was just a man. Thank you, he said quietly. They stood in the humid Lagos night, the city humming around them. It felt surreal, like they were the only 2 people in the world. I came to ask you to stop, Nnamdi said finally. Tomorrow in court, drop the case. Take 10 million naira. 20. Whatever you want. Just make this stop. You can't buy your way out of this. I'm not trying to buy anything. I'm begging. His voice cracked. Obioma, if you go through with this tomorrow, you won't just destroy me. You'll destroy yourself, your family, our daughter's future. Is that what you want? What I want, Obioma said slowly, is for you to take responsibility. Admit what you did. Admit the abuse, the corruption, the lies. Give these women justice. Justice. Nnamdi laughed bitterly. You think this is about justice? This is about revenge. You're angry I chose Yemisi over you, so you're trying to ruin my life. You ruined your own life. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. The truth. He stepped closer, and she could smell the whiskey on his breath. You want the truth? Fine. Yes, I had affairs. Yes, I moved money offshore. Yes, I cut corners on contracts. But you know what else is true? I gave you everything. A life most women dream of. And you were never grateful. Grateful. Obioma felt rage building. For what? Being controlled. Being isolated. Being humiliated. For being chosen. He was shouting now. Do you know how many women would kill to be Mrs. Nnamdi Okafor? But I chose you. A nobody. And this is how you repay me. I never asked to be chosen. I asked to be loved. There's a difference. Nnamdi's face twisted. Love. You sound like a child. Love doesn't build empires. Love doesn't secure dynasties. I needed a wife who understood her role, and you refused to play it. My role? You mean being silent while you destroyed me? I gave you luxury. I wanted partnership. They stood there, both breathing hard, the truth finally naked between them. This was what their marriage had really been. Two people with completely different definitions of love, of marriage, of worth. If you go through with this, Nnamdi said quietly, dangerously, I will make sure you regret it. I will take that baby the moment she's born. I will drag your name through every gutter in Lagos. I will make sure you never work, never remarry, never have peace. Do you understand me? Obioma met his eyes without flinching. Yes. And I'm doing it anyway. For a moment, she saw something flicker across his face. Respect, maybe, or recognition. The woman standing before him wasn't the girl he'd married. She'd been forged in fire. You're making a mistake, he said finally. The only mistake I made was believing you when you said you loved me. She turned to go back inside, but his voice stopped her. Obioma. That baby, our daughter. Despite everything, despite all of this, I do want to be her father. I do want to know her. She looked back at him. Then be a man worth knowing. Be someone she can be proud of. Because right now, you're everything I hope she never becomes. She went inside and locked the gate. Through the window, she watched him stand there for a long moment before getting back in his car and driving away. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Your father is in the hospital. Heart attack. The stress of all this. I hope you're happy. Obioma felt the words like a physical blow. She called immediately, but her mother didn't answer. Neither did her siblings. She tried her father's number, straight to voicemail. She called Folake, her voice shaking. My father's in the hospital. They're saying it's my fault. Which hospital? I don't know. They won't tell me. They won't answer my calls. I'll find out. Don't panic. This could be another manipulation tactic. But what if it wasn't? What if her father really was sick? What if the stress of her fight with Nnamdi had actually hurt him? Obioma paced the room, her mind spiraling. Everything had seemed so clear before, right and wrong, truth and lies. But now, in the dark of night with her father possibly dying, nothing seemed certain anymore. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a photo from an unknown number. Her father in a hospital bed, looking pale and weak, tubes connected to his arms. The message underneath read, Last chance. Drop the case, or we pull the plug on his treatment. You have until morning. Obioma's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. They'd threatened her reputation, her future, her daughter. Now they were threatening her father's life. She called Folake again. They're using my father. They're saying they'll stop his treatment if I don't drop the case. That's extortion. That's a crime. Forward me that message immediately. But what if they're serious? What if my father dies because of me? Obi, listen to me. Your father is probably fine. This is psychological warfare. They're trying to break you right before court. Don't let them. But how could she know for sure? How could she risk it? She spent the rest of the night sitting by the window, watching the sun slowly rise over Lagos. The city waking up, millions of people starting their day, unaware that in a few hours, in a courtroom downtown, lives would be changed forever. Her phone showed 6:47 a.m. when another message came through. This time from Yemisi. I almost feel sorry for you. You really thought you could win, didn't you? See you in court. Watch me become the next Mrs. Okafor while you lose everything. XOXO. Obioma looked down at her belly, at the daughter who would be born into this mess. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry your father is who he is. I'm sorry your mother is choosing this fight instead of making peace. But baby girl, I promise you, I'm choosing truth. Even if it costs me everything. Because that's the only legacy worth leaving you. The baby kicked, strong and insistent, as if saying, I'm with you, Mama. Let's do this. At 7:30 a.m., Folake called. I found your father. He's at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. He did have a minor cardiac event, stress-related, but stable. He's going to be fine. And Obi. The hospital has no record of anyone threatening to stop treatment. That message was a complete fabrication. Relief flooded through Obioma, followed immediately by rage. They'd used her father's real illness to terrorize her. There was no low Nnamdi wouldn't sink to. I'm more ready than ever, she told Folake. Let's end this. At 9 a.m., dressed in a simple blue wrapper and white blouse, traditional attire that reminded her of who she really was, Obioma walked into the Lagos High Court with her head held high. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, spectators, Nnamdi supporters filling one side. On her side sat Ngozi, Mercy, Zainab, and Ebel. Her small army of truth-tellers. Nnamdi sat at the defendant's table with his legal team. 5 lawyers in expensive suits. Yemisi sat in the front row behind him, dressed like she was attending a fashion show, her hand displaying that massive engagement ring. Mama Ego and Ugochi sat beside her, their faces twisted with contempt. The judge entered, Justice Olabisi Sonni, one of the few female high court judges in Lagos. Known for being fair but ruthless. All rise for the Honorable Justice Sonni, the clerk announced. This was it. The moment of truth. Everything Obioma had fought for, everything she'd sacrificed, everything she'd risked, it all came down to what happened in this room. She placed her hand on her belly and felt her daughter kick. We've got this, she thought. Together. The courtroom showdown is here. What do you think will happen? Drop your predictions in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You absolutely cannot miss the next chapter where everything explodes. Justice Sonni surveyed the packed courtroom with sharp, assessing eyes. This is a court of law, not a circus. I will have order, or I will clear this room. Are we understood? Silence fell immediately. Good. We are here today for preliminary hearings in the matter of Okafor versus Okafor, dissolution of marriage. Counsels, present your opening statements. Nnamdi's lead counsel stood, a silver-haired man named Barrister Okonkwo, famous for defending corrupt politicians and winning. His suit probably cost more than most people's cars. Your Honor, this case is a tragedy. My client, Mr. Nnamdi Okafor, is a pillar of this community. A philanthropist who has donated millions to charity. A businessman who employs thousands. And he has been systematically destroyed by a vindictive woman who cannot accept that their marriage is over. He gestured dramatically toward Obioma. Mrs. Okafor suffers from documented mental instability. She has fabricated wild allegations, tax evasion, bigamy, abuse, all because she is bitter about being replaced by a more suitable partner. We have medical experts prepared to testify about her psychological state. We have witnesses who will confirm her erratic behavior. And we are here today to ask this court to protect our client from further harassment and to grant him custody of the unborn child, who is at risk in her care. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Obioma felt eyes on her, judging, assessing, condemning. She kept her gaze forward, her spine straight. Folake stood, and the room seemed to shift. She was small, but her presence filled the space. Your Honor, opposing counsel speaks of tragedy, and he is correct. There is a tragedy here. But it is not the tragedy of a bitter woman. It is the tragedy of a powerful man who has spent years abusing women and believes he can buy his way out of accountability. She pulled out a remote, and a screen behind her lit up with a photograph. Ngozi's battered face from 12 years ago. This is Ngozi Okoro, Mr. Okafor's first wife. A wife he has never divorced, making his marriage to my client legally invalid. A wife he beat so severely she required hospitalization. A wife he has been paying hush money to for over a decade. The courtroom erupted. Nnamdi's lawyers were on their feet, shouting objections. Yemisi's face had gone pale. Mama Ego was screaming something about lies and witchcraft. Order. Justice Sonni's gavel crashed down. Counselor Daniels, I hope you can substantiate these claims. I can, Your Honor. I have hospital records, photographs, bank transfers, and, Folake paused for effect, the witness herself. Ngozi stood from the gallery, walking forward with quiet dignity. Every eye in the room followed her. Your Honor, Folake continued, Ms. Okoro is prepared to testify about the abuse she suffered, about the fraudulent use of her family's investment money, and about the son she bore, Mr. Okafor's biological heir, who he will never know because of his own violence. The gasps were audible. Nnamdi was on his feet now, his face purple with rage. She's lying. This is a setup. I never. Mr. Okafor, sit down, Justice Sonni commanded. You will have your turn to speak. But Nnamdi wasn't finished. That woman abandoned our marriage. She ran away and now she's back for money. And there is no child. This is fantasy. Then you won't mind a DNA test? Folake said smoothly. Ms. Okoro's son is 11 years old. The timing matches her pregnancy exactly. We have birth certificates, medical records, school enrollment documents. Everything can be verified. Nnamdi's lawyer put a hand on his arm, whispering urgently. Nnamdi shook him off. This is a conspiracy. They're all working together to extort me. Extortion. Folake's voice cut like a blade. Your Honor, we have 2 additional witnesses. May I call them? Justice Sonni nodded, her expression unreadable. Mercy stood first, visibly shaking. Folake guided her to the witness stand. Please state your name for the record. Mercy Bassi. I'm a student at University of Lagos. And how do you know Mr. Okafor? Mercy's voice was barely audible. We had a relationship. For 2 years. He paid my rent, gave me money. He said he loved me. I didn't know he was married until 6 months ago. And when you tried to end the relationship? He threatened me. Tears streamed down Mercy's face. He said he'd tell everyone I was a prostitute. That he'd get me expelled. That he'd ruin my family's name. So I stayed. Your Honor, Folake said, we have text messages, bank transfers, and recorded phone calls substantiating Ms. Bassi's testimony. Mr. Okafor has been systematically grooming and manipulating young women, using his wealth and power to control them. Lies. Yemisi suddenly stood, her voice shrill. These women are all lying. They're jealous. Nnamdi loves me. He wants to marry me. Ms. Adeyemi, Justice Sonni said coldly, you are not party to these proceedings. Sit down or leave. But Yemisi was unraveling. You don't understand. I've invested 3 years in this relationship. I've waited while he dealt with his mistakes. That baby, she pointed at Obioma, was supposed to be mine. We planned it. I was supposed to carry his child, but she trapped him first. The courtroom went silent. Even Nnamdi looked shocked. What? Obioma whispered. Yemisi's eyes were wild now, all her polish crumbling. We had a plan. He was going to divorce you right after the baby was born, claim it wasn't his, and I would raise it as mine. But then you had to go and fight back, had to make everything difficult. Ms. Adeyemi, I strongly suggest you stop talking, Nnamdi's lawyer said desperately. But Yemisi was past listening. I did everything for him. I overlooked his other women, I supported his business, I even helped him move money offshore because he said we'd need it for our future. And now you're all treating him like a criminal when he's just a man trying to build a legacy. Folake's smile was razor sharp. Your Honor, I believe Ms. Adeyemi just confessed to conspiracy to commit fraud and parental kidnapping. I'd like the court stenographer to read back that statement. Mama Ego was shrieking now, Ogochi trying to pull Yemisi out of the courtroom. The journalists were frantically typing, cameras flashing. It was chaos. Enough. Justice Sonni's voice cut through the pandemonium. Bailiffs, restore order. Ms. Adeyemi, you are in contempt. Sit down immediately or you will be arrested. Yemisi collapsed into her seat, sobbing. Nnamdi sat frozen, his empire crumbling around him in real time. Councillor Daniels, Justice Sonni said, her voice deadly calm. Do you have more witnesses? One more, Your Honor. Zainab Hossain took the stand, composed and elegant despite the chaos. She spoke clearly, precisely, detailing her affair with Nnamdi, his blackmail, and most damaging of all, she played a recording. Nnamdi's voice filled the courtroom. The key to staying rich is looking rich. I'm mortgaged to hell, but nobody needs to know that. As long as everyone thinks you're untouchable, you are. And these women, they're investments. Mercy keeps me young, Yemisi gets me connections, Obioma got me that Rivers State contract. You manage them right, they're more valuable than actual assets. The recording continued, Nnamdi bragging about his affairs, about manipulating women, about the offshore accounts, about bribing officials. Every word another nail in his coffin. When it ended, the silence was absolute. Justice Sonni looked at Nnamdi with unconcealed disgust. Mr. Okafor, do you have anything to say in your defense? Nnamdi stood slowly. For the first time, Obioma saw him truly cornered. No charm could save him now. No money could make this disappear. That recording was taken without my consent, he said weakly. It's inadmissible. Actually, Folake interrupted. In Nigeria, single-party consent applies. Ms. Hossain was party to the conversation. The recording is entirely legal. Nnamdi's lawyer was gathering papers frantically. Your Honor, we need time to review. Time. Justice Sonni's laugh was bitter. Mr. Okafor, you stand accused of bigamy, fraud, tax evasion, abuse, blackmail, and conspiracy. Your own mistress just confessed to helping you commit financial crimes. Your own words condemn you. What exactly do you need time to review? I can explain. Save it for the criminal trial. Because make no mistake, Mr. Okafor, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission will be receiving a full copy of these proceedings. She turned to Obioma. Mrs. Okafor, or rather Ms. Okoro, since your marriage appears to be invalid, you have my deepest sympathy. This court finds in your favor on every count. She banged her gavel. Marriage annulled on grounds of bigamy. Full financial disclosure ordered within 30 days. Child custody granted solely to the mother. Mr. Okafor, you will have no contact with the child unless and until you complete a psychiatric evaluation and parenting course. Further, I am issuing a restraining order. You are to stay at least 500 meters away from Ms. Okoro at all times. You can't do this. Nnamdi roared. I have rights. That's my daughter. You have the right to remain silent, Justice Sonni said coldly. Because anything you say now can and will be used against you. Bailiffs, escort Mr. Okafor from my courtroom. If he resists, arrest him for contempt. The bailiffs moved forward. Nnamdi looked around wildly, at his lawyers who wouldn't meet his eyes, at Yemisi who was still sobbing, at his mother who looked like she'd aged 10 years, at the journalists capturing every moment of his destruction. Finally, his eyes landed on Obioma. You destroyed me, he whispered. No, she said quietly. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone could see it. As the bailiffs led him away, the courtroom erupted. Journalists swarmed Folake. Supporters crowded around Obioma. She heard Mama Ego wailing, heard Yemisi screaming that this wasn't over. But all Obioma could feel was relief. Bone deep, overwhelming relief. It was over. She was free. Justice. Can you believe how this unfolded? Drop your reactions in the comments. What would you have done in Obioma's position? Like, subscribe, and share this story. 3 months later, Obioma stood on the balcony of her new apartment in Lekki, holding her daughter against her chest. The baby was 6 weeks old now, with her mother's eyes and a full head of dark hair. She'd named her Ifeoma, good thing, because after everything, that's what she was. The apartment was modest compared to the Ikoyi mansion, just 2 bedrooms, simple furniture, a small kitchen. But it was hers. Paid for with the initial settlement from Nnamdi's frozen assets. And most importantly, it was filled with peace. She's beautiful, Ngozi said, coming out with 2 cups of tea. She'd become a regular visitor, a sister in survival. She has your strength already. I can see it. Obioma smiled. I hope she never needs it the way we did. She will, Ngozi said wisely. Every woman does. But at least she'll know it's possible. She'll grow up knowing her mother didn't stay silent. The doorbell rang. Ebel let herself in. She had a key now, carrying bags of groceries and baby supplies. The market was crazy today. Everyone wanted to talk about the trial. You're like a celebrity. She started unpacking. Oh, and I brought newspapers. You made the cover of 3 different magazines this week. Obioma glanced at them. Her face stared back from glossy covers. The woman who took down a billionaire. Obioma's courage, a new era for Nigerian women. From victim to victor, the Okafor scandal. I'm not a hero, she said quietly. I just did what I had to do. That's exactly what makes you a hero, Folake said, arriving with her usual perfect timing. She'd become more than a lawyer. She was family now. How's my favorite client and her beautiful girl? She cooed over Ifeoma, who gurgled happily. Then she sat down, her expression turning serious. I have news. The EFCC investigation is complete. Nnamdi's being charged with 12 counts of fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering. Your uncle and 3 other officials from Rivers State have also been arrested. The trial starts next month. Obioma had expected to feel triumphant. Instead, she felt only sadness. My family still won't speak to me. My father recovered from his heart attack, but my mother says I'm dead to them. Your father sent this, Folake said gently, handing her an envelope. Inside was a letter, written in her father's careful handwriting. My daughter, I cannot defend what your uncle did. I cannot defend my silence when your husband mistreated you. I have spent these months thinking about the example I set, telling you to be obedient, to submit, to make peace at any cost. I taught you that a woman's value comes from being chosen by a man. I was wrong. Your value comes from your courage, your integrity, your strength. Your mother may not forgive you yet, but I want you to know, I am proud of you. Your daughter is blessed to have a mother who fights for what's right, even when it costs everything. You are the woman I should have raised you to be, despite my failures. You did that yourself. With love, Papa. Obioma's tears fell onto the paper, smudging the ink. Ebel wrapped her arms around her while she sobbed. For the father who finally understood, for the mother who still couldn't, for the family she'd lost and the family she'd found. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Obioma. A woman's voice. Hesitant. It's Yemisi. Silence. Obioma looked at Folake, who nodded. It's okay. What do you want? I wanted to. I need to apologize. Yemisi's voice was raw, stripped of all its former arrogance. I've spent 2 months in therapy, trying to understand how I became that person. How I convinced myself that stealing another woman's life was okay. That helping a man commit crimes was love. Why are you calling me? Because you were right. About everything. Nnamdi used me just like he used you. I thought I was special, but I was just convenient. And I almost helped him steal your child. Your child, Obioma. I can't. Her voice broke. I can't believe who I became. Obioma looked down at Ifeoma, sleeping peacefully in her arms. She thought about Yemisi, beautiful, ambitious Yemisi, who'd been so sure she was different, so convinced she was the exception. I don't forgive you, Obioma said quietly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I hope you learn from this. I hope you become someone better. I'm trying. I lost everything too. My business reputation, my family's respect, my freedom. I'm facing charges for helping Nnamdi hide assets. But I deserved it. We both did. A pause. Your daughter, what did you name her? Ifeoma. Good thing, Yemisi whispered. That's beautiful. I hope she grows up knowing what a strong mother she has. The line went dead. Obioma stared at her phone, processing. That took courage, Ngozi said softly. To call you. Or desperation, Ebel muttered. Maybe both, Obioma said. But she's right about one thing. We all make choices. She chose to be his accomplice. I chose to fight. Now we both live with the consequences. A knock at the door. Mercy entered shyly, holding a gift bag. I hope I'm not interrupting. I brought something for the baby. Mercy had transformed in 3 months. She'd left university temporarily to focus on therapy, working through the trauma of being groomed by a man twice her age. But she was healing, slowly. You're never interrupting, Obioma assured her. Inside the bag was a beautiful hand-knitted blanket. My grandmother made it. She wanted the baby to have something made with love. They gathered around, 5 women from different backgrounds, different experiences, all bound together by one man's cruelty and their collective courage to speak truth. I have something too, Folake said, pulling out official-looking papers. The final settlement came through. In addition to the 2-bedroom apartment and initial funds, you're getting 35 million naira, 10% of Nnamdi's liquid assets before he hid everything. It's not what you deserve, but it's enough to start fresh. To go back to school if you want. To build something of your own. 35 million naira. More money than Obioma had ever imagined having. Enough to secure Ifeoma's future. Enough to breathe. There's more, Folake continued. 3 women have contacted my office this week. Women with similar stories. Powerful husbands, abuse, being silenced. They saw you fight and they want to fight too. I'm thinking of starting a foundation. Legal aid for women trapped in abusive marriages. Would you consider being involved? Obioma looked at the women around her. Her sisters in survival. Her army of truth-tellers. Yes, she said simply. Let's make sure no woman has to face this alone. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Nnamdi Okafor denied bail in fraud case. Trial set for October. Below it, another notification. This one from her bank. A deposit. 2 million naira. From Nnamdi's seized offshore accounts, distributed to victims. The court had classified her as a primary victim. She thought about the woman she'd been a year ago. Timid, controlled, believing her worth came from being chosen by a wealthy man. Then she looked at the woman she'd become, battle-scarred but unbroken, a mother, a survivor, a voice for the silenced. Mama Ego called me yesterday, Ngozi said suddenly. She wanted to see her grandchildren, my son and your daughter. She said family is family, and we should forgive. What did you say? I said forgiveness is earned, not demanded. That if she wants to be a grandmother, she needs to acknowledge the harm she caused. The abuse she enabled. The women her son destroyed while she watched. Ngozi smiled. She hung up on me. They laughed. Dark humor born from pain, but laughter nonetheless. Healing looked like this, Obioma realized. Not perfect resolution, not everyone getting along, not even forgiveness. Just forward motion. Just refusing to go back. 6 months ago, she'd stood in that dining room while Nnamdi told her she was nothing. Now she stood in her own home, holding her daughter, surrounded by women who'd walked through fire with her, knowing she was everything. As the Lagos sun set over the lagoon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Obioma woke and looked up at her mother with wide, curious eyes. "Your papa is going to prison," Obioma whispered to her. "Your grandmother may never accept us. Half of Lagos thinks I'm a troublemaker. Your life won't be easy." Obioma grabbed her mother's finger with a surprisingly strong grip. "But you'll grow up knowing the truth matters. That standing up for yourself isn't shameful. That women aren't property or prizes or things to be managed." Obioma kissed her daughter's forehead. "You'll grow up knowing your mother fought, and won, and built something beautiful from the ashes." "To new beginnings," Folake said, raising her teacup. "To survived endings," Ngozi added. "To women who refuse to stay silent," Mercy said quietly. "To us," Ebel finished. "To every woman who's ever had to choose between peace and truth, and chose truth anyway." They clinked their cups together, an unlikely sisterhood, forged in courtrooms and conflict, bound by something stronger than blood. Outside, Lagos pulsed with life. Millions of stories unfolding simultaneously, millions of battles being fought behind closed doors. But in this small apartment in Lekki, 5 women and 1 baby girl created their own world. One where truth mattered. Where courage was rewarded. Where women lifted each other instead of competing. Where endings could become beginnings. And that, Obioma thought as she held her daughter close, was the best revenge of all. Not destroying Nnamdi, but refusing to let him destroy her. She'd survived. She'd fought. She'd won. Not because she took everything from him, but because she took herself back. And that was worth more than all his billions combined. The end. What an incredible journey. Obioma's story shows us that courage doesn't mean being fearless. It means being afraid and fighting anyway. Have you or someone you know ever had to make the brave choice to walk away and start over? Share your stories in the comments below. Your words might inspire someone who needs to hear them today. If this story touched you, please like this video, subscribe to Stories by Stoner for more powerful African stories, and share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next story. Remember, you are not what happened to you. You are not who they said you were. You are who you choose to become. Until next time, stay strong, stay blessed, and keep fighting for your truth. This is Stories by Stoner, signing off.